Well, hello there and good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us on this particular show. This is a Farm Kenya show right here on KTN. My name is Kelvin Nyakundi. Remember, this is the show that gives you the trusted source and for insights that grow our farm and also source your future, secure rather your future. And today we'll be discussing about a very interesting issue, and of course we'll go beneath where the plants usually come from. That is the soil, and we'll be looking at soil fertility and also productivity and how you as a farmer can improve this. And we'll be looking at some of the challenges when it comes to this. And joining us is Juni Wangari, who is chairperson of the Organic Fertilizers Manufacturers Association of Kenya, known as OFIMAK. Thank you so much for joining us today. We'll be having a conversation and we'll be looking at some of these particular problems and challenges when it comes to the soil fertility and productivity, and get to learn different ways in which we can improve the soil fertility and also soil health. My name is Kelvin Nyakundi. Let's get right into it. All right, so Juni, before we even get to the show and get to look at different issues, let us first of all understand what OFIMAK does and what it's all about.
Thank you, Kelvin. Thank you for having us in this show. OFIMAK is an association of innovators and individuals who have entered into the space of organic fertilizers and other organic inputs manufacture. And here I want to specify local manufacture, because that is one of our mandates in terms of building our local capacity to produce organic fertilizers in Kenya. So we have 17 companies who are members today, and others are joining. And obviously we want to build this home of local manufacturers of organic fertilizers. That is what we do. And our aim is to ensure that we promote the use of organic farm inputs, both fertilizers, soil conditioners, pesticides, biopesticides, biostimulants, so that we can increase the productivity from our soils.
All right, thank you so much for that. And I believe now we understand what OFIMAK does. And now, across the country, farmers are really grappling with low yields, and experts believe that this roots from the soil itself. From where you sit, and when you look at this particular issue of declining yields year on year, what would you say is the particular problem that is ailing agriculture at this time?
Well, Kelvin, it is about soil fertility and soil health. If our soils are not healthy enough, they will not be able to sustain life. They will not be able to sustain the life of a plant. They will not even be able to sustain, the life of human beings, animals. So I think we have misunderstood the importance of soil, that we have overmined it without, having understanding what the consequences are, or really understanding how you can manage, increased productivity, but also soil fertility and soil health. So I think there's been a gap for, a number of decades there, that soil health has been left behind. So the key here, Kelvin, is soil health. How do we ensure that as we increase our productivity, we are also maintaining soil health?
Right. Yeah. All right. Even as we are going, of course, that's what we'll be discussing the rest of this hour that we have. Yes. And also, let's look at some of the ways in which farmers or different individuals who may be included in this particular chain of soil health and also productivity, some of the ways in which they can improve. You can say even 2 that or 3, so that we can look at that even as we move on.
Great. One of the things that farmers need to understand is what their soils need. So the first thing they need to understand is, what is the status of my soil today? And just because you plant maize, beans, or whatever it is that you plant in your soil and you produce something, it doesn't mean that your soil is in a very good state. So today, the first advice I would give farmer is to understand what is the status of my soil. both from a physical perspective, biological perspective, and a chemical perspective. And this can be addressed by doing a soil test. Next, now this will show you the status of your soil. So now the next thing is to understand what I need to do, because it comes with recommendations. And you're very right, Kelvin, because the soil tests that have been done in the recent couple of decades have increasingly shown decline in soil nutrients, increased soil acidity, and increased the deficiency of soil organic carbon. And these are the main ingredients of establishing whether your soil is fertile or not.
All right, Junie, let me just pause you right there, and then we'll continue even after we look at this particular feature on Farm Guide, where we are looking at soil fertility remains one of the biggest determinants of farm productivity, as we have been speaking about that. And this many Kenyan farmers are grappling with this. Declining soil health has become a growing concern. Now, to tackle this, some farmers are now embracing a balanced approach, replacing or blending chemical fertilizers with organic options, as Junie has been speaking about. Now, to rebuild their soils while maintaining yields. Now, in this feature, we take a look at how this shift is redefining fertilizer use across the country and what it means for the future of sustainable farming in Kenya. Let's take a look at this, and then we continue.
In Kenya, farmers are facing a serious challenge: declining soil fertility. Once fertile farms are now producing less and less. Yields are going down. Farming profits are shrinking. And the soil is getting weaker every season. For years, many farmers have relied only on chemical fertilizers. But using chemical fertilizers alone without feeding the soil has led to soil acidity, loss of organic matter, and reduced crop performance.
Na ikiwa tunaweza pata watu wengine wafanye utafiti wa kuleta either ni fertilizer ile mtu anaweza tumia ya kupunguza acidity kwa mchanga, inaweza kuwa vyema. Manake inaweza saidia wakulima wengi, si wanyanya peke yake. Manake kuna vitu vingi vinakataa mchanga, hata mahindi. Kuna mbegu za mahindi ukipanda hapa hata kuota tu zinaota tu vizuri, alafu zinakauka.
When we came, we found land that had coffee. So it had coffee, but we wanted to venture into horticulture. We started small, tukaanza na hoho na nyanya. Then we realized the soil was a little bit acidic. We did the test those days. After crop failure for around 3 seasons, we did the test. We were told our soils were very acidic. We needed to treat the soils. Then also we were advised on the fertilizer applications. Tulikuwa tunaweka tu bila kipimo because we were trying. 5 years down the line, that's when we started the maize farming. We were only doing horticulture by then. So around 2018, just to 2019, during COVID, that's when we ventured into maize farming, where we started with the dry maize. The dry maize, the variety that we went to the market without much advice, it failed the first time. We only got an average of 10 bags per acre. And we realized it only catered for the cost. We never made any money on that, because by that time, at least farming expenses were a little bit low. The price of the seeds, the price of fertilizers were low. But we needed to make business out of that farming. That's when we started looking for the ventures or the other people, extension officers, who would advise us on the correct maize seed, the correct fertilizer input, the stages on which to apply. And I can say it has been a journey for the last 5 years.
But there's hope. Across Kenya, a powerful solution is helping farmers revive their soils. The Organic Fertilizers and Inputs Manufacturers Association of Kenya. They produce safe, affordable, and effective organic fertilizers and soil conditioners made locally for Kenyan soils.
Farmers are businessmen. And, sometimes I think we have assumed that what they're doing is like a hobby or a by the way. But in truth, they are very well-informed businessmen. And so as a business person, you want to ensure that your investment has a good return. Remember, when you look at our typical farmers, 75 to 80% of our agriculture is from smallholder farmers. Now, that is his source of income. So he must make profit. And so when he does activities that at the end of a season do not bear fruit, do not put money in his pocket so that he can be able to do other things like pay school fees, pay health care, and build a better house, buy a car, he's challenged. And so he's impoverished. And so the farmer is now cautious about, what do I put in my farm? Remember, again, our agriculture is rain-fed. And so he only has 2 opportunities maximum in a year to bear fruit. So he says, what are the chances am I willing to take to trade off the 2 opportunities I have for putting income into my pockets? And that is where that's where we get stuck. The trade-off seems very expensive. It's also not very well known. So we are at a space whereby we really need to work harder to convince the farmer that yes, this organic product that we are recommending, it will give you better production, or it will, it will improve your soils today, so that you will not only be the one to benefit from this soil, but the future generation.
Organic fertilizers and soil conditioners feed the soil, not just the plants. They restore soil life, improve soil structure, and help crops absorb nutrients efficiently. With organic fertilizers and soil conditioners, farmers can now harvest more.
For a very long time, we have been cultivating the same piece of land. And so over time, we have overmined the nutrients that are in the soil. Yes, we are adding fertilizer. Today, there is no farmer who expects a harvest and will not put fertilizer. They have to, because they have overmined all the nutrients, the natural ones, and even now the ones that we add. Now the question is, are we adding in excess of what we are producing? The answer is no. The average fertilizer use in Kenya, or application rate in Kenya, is around 50 kilograms per hectare. That's nowhere close to what is the world average, that is above 150 kilos a hectare. So we are challenged in that way. There are not enough nutrients to sustain a healthy crop, and so you keep mining the same piece of land, you will overuse it. You need to add organic matter, which is now one of those ingredients that we have not been doing very well in terms of replenishing into the soils. And what that does is that the living organisms in our soils, they die or they take off, they go to other places where they can be fed. We need to bring back the life into our soils, because soil is a living matter.
Huwa natumia biochar kwa kupanda, na kuna top dressing yake ambao baada ya ile mimea nikipanda, wakati wa kupalilia ama kiwango mahindi nafikia kama kwa magoti, ninaweka ile top dressing. Ile tofauti nimeona kutoka hiyo miaka 7 iliyopita, kwa miaka 3 iliyopita sikupata mavuno mengi. Pia yale mahindi hayakuwa makubwa, yalikuwa ni vidogo vidogo. Lakini baada ya kutumia fertilizer nimeona umuhimu wake, kwamba mazao ni mengi na pia inakuwa ni kubwa. So nimeona advantage of kutumia ile fertilizer ni kwamba ina mavuno zaidi.
Kuna vyenye tunakuanga na watu wenye wako na hizo vitu za kupima mchanga wanaweza kupimia, ama wakati unatumia hizo fertilizer za organic, mmea mwenyewe unaweza kuambia mchanga yako si nzuri ama haifai kulimwa ama kupandwa kitu, sababu ya vyenye mmea wako unakaa. Lakini tukizoea kutumia hizi organics, hata huhitaji kuenda kupimiwa mchanga yako, sababu hizi vitu huanga zinatengeneza mchanga, zinatengeneza udongo, inarudi tu ni kama kitambo.
Kama kwangu walipima, wakanipimia ka 50 by 100 kamonja, na wakaniambia kanaweza toka kakiwa kana acid, mtu anaweza funa namna gani. Nilikunja nikalima ile rosemary tamu sana, nikalima hiyo 50 by 100 wakati wa kwanza ikatoka vizuri. Wakati wa pili nikalima spinach, pia hiyo ikatoka vizuri sana. Njoo hiyo ka 50 by 100 nilikuwa natoa kilo 400 kwa wiki. Kwa hivyo na yangu sikuweka fertilizer, bado nilitumia mbolea. Wakati huo nilitumia mbolea ya nguruwe na ya kuku. Haya, ikikaa nikichuna kama mara 5 hivi, nikaongezea tena mbolea ya mbuzi. Nikaendelea hivyo, spinach yangu ikaisha. Mara ya pili tumepimiwa na hawa, wakaniambia ngoje resort, lakini wameniambia wataniletea resort.
Organic inputs are made from natural plants and animal materials. They are rich in key nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, and carbon, vital for healthy soil. OFIMAK solves soil problems by reducing soil acidity, increasing water retention, improving soil structure, enhancing nutrients availability, and making crops stronger and healthier. OFIMAK's members do more than sell fertilizers. They also train farmers on good soil management, proper fertilizer application, and soil testing.
Organic matter acts as a feed for the microorganisms, and which encourages their population to increase and their activities to increase. And because microorganisms carry out the activity of breaking that organic matter, transforming it to nutrients available for the plant, that means that the plant will always have the nutrient the moment that you use the organic fertilizers. Again, that organic matter also helps to improve the soil structure, making it lighter and more aerated, so water and air will be easily infiltrated into the soil. And also the organic matter enables the soil to retain water and nutrients. Therefore, the plant can be able to use them even during the dry seasons.
There's a lot of research that has been conducted by CalDRO, is that one of the things to have is, once you're done with your production cycle, now that we are in the months of August all the way to September, the soils will be left fallow for a period of time. That's the time when now you should try and clear the waste that is in the farm, if you have any. Start and towards the production, towards the rain season, you get your organic fertilizer in place, and some can use manure. That's what they spread first. And then when it comes to the planting, they can mix the organic fertilizers plus the synthetic fertilizer. The ratio is mostly 50-50, but we are advising, and also CalDRO has been advising farmers to start in a ratio of 2 bags of inorganic fertilizer to 1 bag of organic fertilizer. That's the first season. The second season, it should be 50-50, 1 bag of each. Then they try and build their capacity, so that the continuity in this case will help the farmers not only build the soil capability of handling more nutrients, so that can now feed the crops.
Healthy soil means healthy crops and higher incomes. Organic fertilizers and soil conditioners are now available across Kenya, mainly through the National Cereals and Produce Board and CPB.
That is what OFIMAK is trying to bring together, so that we can help our members sell to different cooperatives. Also, the fact that the policy around organic fertilizers is not properly in line. We're trying to help our members, get in line with the different standards that we have in the country. And since some of them are not there, we are trying to work with the government agencies to co-opt and create the right policy frameworks that will spearhead the soil organic agenda that we are currently having.
Declining soil fertility is not the end of farming. With the right solutions, soils can be restored. Organic fertilizers and soil conditioners are helping farmers increase yields, improve soil health, and grow their income. Farmers of Kenya, for better yields, for healthy soils, for stronger harvest. Organic fertilizers and soil conditioners produced by OFIMAK members are giving farmers a chance to restore life to their lands.
All right, very good insights there when we look at what has been happening on ground and what farmers have been going through. And of course, we'll be now getting into the conversation. We'll be continuing with the conversation. Juni, now from what we've watched, we've been sharing on the side as well. So when we look at this particular story that we've seen, what stands out for you? What has stood out for you?
Kelvin, farmers are willing to try. They're willing to do what it takes to heal their soils. But they seem to be stuck in a space whereby I've been doing this for the longest time. I have been putting in organic fertilizers, you know, from my grandfather to my father to today. So it's a behavioral change that we are struggling with right now. Because it's one thing to know, for a patient to know what is ailing them. Mm-hmm. So the next thing is to understand, how do I heal my disease? So Kelvin, that's now the bridge we need to cross. Mm-hmm. And I don't blame them. I don't blame farmers. We have been doing, we have been farming the same way for the last 70 years. And, every machinery in the country was towards increasing productivity by the use of fertilizer. At that point in time, we didn't define inorganic or organic, but it was about how do we feed our increasing population across the world, by the way. So it was not just affecting Kenya. So how do we feed our increasing population and ensure that we have food security for every government? And so the push towards increasing the use of fertilizer was, was supported by everybody. Governments, they put in the machinery, they ensured the products are there on time. They educated the extension officers. When they go to the farms, they're talking about increase, ensure when you're planting, make sure you put this fertilizer. And for a very long time, we knew you plant DEP, you want to top dress CAN. And that has been going on in Kenya for the last, say, 70 to 80 years. Mm-hmm. So shifting that mindset will be a bit challenging. Mm-hmm. But we know today, because of the work that we've been doing as OFIMAK, is that the farmers appreciate it. But we also need government support to come in. Mm-hmm. In the same way, the government pushed the agenda around the use of the inorganic fertilizers at the time. Now we are at a space whereby we need to push the agenda to the farmers around maintaining their soil health. And the good thing is, Kelvin, this has actually happened. And last year, the Africa Fertilizer and Soil Health Summit that was held in Nairobi opened the gateway for us to have that conversation.
All right.
Yes.
All right, let me just stop you right there. Let's go for a short break. But when we come back, we'll be continuing with this particular conversation. Remember, today we are speaking about improving soil fertility and also productivity. So don't go too far. We'll be back with more. Right, welcome back. And remember, this is Farm Kenya show right here on KTN. And today we are speaking about improving soil fertility and productivity. And joining us is Juni Wangari, who is the chairperson of the Organic Fertilizers Manufacturers Association of Kenya, OFIMAK. And we were speaking about how farmers can be able to make sure that at least at the end of the day, their soil is healthy enough in order for that to contribute into the good yields at the end of the season. All right, so let's continue with the conversation, and let's look at the real situation and the real picture of soil fertility decline in Kenya. How serious is it, and how is this affecting the produce that we have?
Thank you, Kelvin. This was an eye-opener. When I mentioned about the Africa Fertilizer Soil Health Summit, it gave us the opportunity to actually deep dive into this conversation about what is the status of Kenyan soils. And we reached out to CALRO, which is the agricultural organization that is mandated to conduct research and development in Kenya, and it operates within the Ministry of Agriculture. And with the support of GIZ, we were able to have a conversation and to participate in the Soil Health Summit. And so we developed soil health conversation sessions, the side events, and open plenary conversations around, what is the status of Kenyan soils and what we can do to address that situation. Kelvin, the situation is dire. Mm-hmm. CALRO, and this was the most interesting, findings for us in this journey. We were able to establish that they've actually been doing research in terms of, how our soil is behaving over the years. And what came out clearly is that our soils are increasingly becoming acidic. 32% of arable land is strongly acidic. Our arable land is between 12 to 18%. So Kenya's land mass is about 143 million hectares. Mm-hmm. So 12 to 18% of that is arable land. Mm-hmm. Now, when you talk about arable land, is where you can produce food. Mm-hmm. That's where we are growing our food. Yes. So when you start saying that 32% of that land is strongly acidic, and it extends to about 60 when you say acidic soils, because then we move from acidic to strongly acidic, that's a problem. There is no way we will be able to achieve food security with such high land mass being, acidic, having acidic soils. 70% of Kenyan land mass lacks sufficient soil organic carbon. Now, organic carbon is the food for the living organisms that are in the soils. So, like I mentioned earlier, we really haven't understood what is the importance of soils. Soil is a living organism, and in it there are macroorganisms and microorganisms, and these are the ones that make the soil alive. Mm-hmm. So when we do not feed these living organisms, then you hear the terminology, my soil is dead. So your soil is dead when you do not have living organisms in your soil. Mm-hmm. And so that is where the organic carbon becomes very important, because you start feeding these living organisms so that they can do the work that they were mandated to do in the first place through creation. I mean, Kelvin, you'll be surprised that all the things that we do just takes us back to, what God gave us naturally. But obviously, because of man's need to do many other things, we have sort of like deviated from that original plan. But the nature is sufficient to maintain itself. Because of the interventions that we have brought about because of humanity. Mm-hmm. and human activities, then some things just don't work the way they should. Mm-hmm. And so because now we have interrupted the cycle of nature within our soils, we have to come back and inject this organic carbon, because that is really the key. So once we inject the organic carbon, then we need to understand how we are going to maintain it. And you'll be very surprised, Kelvin, we just need to go back to our traditional farming methods that were there with our forefathers. It's about making sure that your land is not left bare. And I know as you do your mini features across Kenya, you go and you see farmlands that have been tilled, waiting for the rains, and they are bare. The soil is bare. Mm-hmm. So tell me, Kelvin, what do you think is happening in that situation? Moisture is coming out of the soil, and now when moisture gets out of the soil, the living organisms do not have water. They don't have a source of water. So what will happen? They get dehydrated, they will die, they will move to other areas where they can be fed with food and water. So we need to maintain the moisture in our soils.
Okay.
So,
all right. And before you even continue, when you look at the different soils that we have around the country, because the soil that is on a different, on this arid and semi-arid area, the ASAL areas, is not the same as the one in the tropics.
Correct.
So how does a farmer who is on either side able to make sure that their soil is not as acidic as you have mentioned? And also, even before that, when you look at the acidity of the soil, how does a farmer make sure that they reduce that? So you can just give us a balance when it comes to ASAL regions and the tropics, and how farmers on both sides can make sure that their soil is not as acidic, and also how does a farmer reduce the acidity of the soil?
thank you, Kelvin. A quick fix for soil acidity is applying lime, and that is a quick fix. But long-term fix is by ensuring that you increasingly add organic carbon and maintain the organic carbon in your soils. So it goes back to the organic farm inputs that you're putting in your soil. That is very critical for the long-term maintenance of soil fertility and soil health. So first, lime, quick fix. Then after that, make sure that every time you're coming to plant, you're top dressing, that you're adding a lot more of organic farm inputs than the inorganic or than any other, so that you build the carbon, the amount of carbon in the soil. Remember, Kelvin, we are at a deficit. Right now, we are at a deficit. So today, if I was to recommend how much you need for your 1 acre, for your hectare, I'll be recommending 10 tons of organic farm produce or farm input. And that is what farmers have been putting, by the way. When you do this, conduct the soil test, you're told add 10 tons of manure. And the farmers who can afford to do that, they do that, and they see the benefits, by the way. And it's just that these good or positive experiences are not being disseminated, across the farmers who are experiencing these positive outcomes. And that is now where we come in, because there's not enough 10 tons of, per hectare of manure to go around, by the way. You would be very surprised. In as much as that every household in Kenya, that I have been to, has cows or goats or chickens, and then you still wonder what happens to that manure. So we need to put in a lot more than we are putting. And now this is where we come in as organic fertilizer producers. We now have the technology that helps us to enhance this manure, because our feedstock is really animal and plant residuals, or what you'd call plant and animal waste. So we have the technology of making these products, making sure that they last longer, they work faster, and you don't have to use the 10 tons per hectare in one go to ensure that your soil is fertile. And so with increased use, and we're not saying that farmer, please stop using your manure. No, please use your manure, but it's not enough, because in as much as we have all these animals, we have like over 53 million, that's the last count I saw. We have 53 million cows plus, and yet our soils are increasingly becoming acidic. So why? So I think for us is to understand, how are we treating this manure first? So it needs to be well composted. And then two, how are we also supplementing that with the certified organic fertilizers and soil conditioners that will help push the agenda much faster.
Right. So for a farmer or someone who is not able to get the certified manure, and they only rely on the on the basic manure that they have at home, what would you advise? What is your advice to them? And also, is there anything as too much organic fertilizer, or not even fertilizer, organic manure in the soil? Is there anything as like too much of that? Because you know, someone might say, okay, I applied this one, so let me just leave it. So is there anything like overusing that? And also, how do you advise a farmer who's not able to get the certified organic manure?
Well, the truth is, you will not. I mean, getting certified organic manure may not be what we'll be chasing here, because, you know, my manure is different from yours because it depends on how I'm feeding my animals. So it becomes a bit tricky. So I think it's a question of how do I treat the manure that I have to ensure that it works for me, and that's really plainly composting. And unfortunately, yes, there are many organizations, by the way, Kelvin, who are educating farmers on how to do composting. And it's about collecting your manure and putting it in a shaded area, making sure that it's not over wet or over dry. And then the trick here again, it also takes time to get a good compost. And that's really the trick here, because as soon as a season ends, you know, shortly another season comes. The question is it enough time to process this manure? And then, do I have enough? And I can see how a farmer can just be tired and say, you know what, let me just go and get this fertilizer that is already in a bag and come and quickly and use it. So the time that is spent to do this, the amount that you get out of it, so that then it can be enough for your land, there are all those things that you need to balance. And that is why, even in as much as we have so many animals in our farms, it's still not enough. So the answer to your question is there can never be excess. You know why? Because you're still mining. You're still growing crops. You're still taking nutrients away. Those living organisms need to be fed.
Okay.
So you have to keep feeding. The same way you have to keep putting the inorganic fertilizer for you to see a very quick maize plant coming out of your soils. It's the same way you still need to keep feeding those living organisms so that they can continue performing the work that they need to perform. And then maintaining. And I think that is where now our farmers have sort of got relaxed, because now they had this quick fix to increase productivity. They forgot that we need to cover our crops. We also now cannot only rely on maize and beans. We need to intercrop, or rotate what it is that we are growing in this field and the other fields. We need to see how we can maintain moisture in the soil, so mulching. And then you have seen, I have to feed my cows. So guess what happens, Kelvin? I harvest my maize, I harvest my beans, then I go and collect all that residue to go and feed the cows. What have I done? I have left my soil bare.
Yes.
It's a vicious cycle here. And so our task as OFIMAK and other players and who are supporting this cause for soil health are teaching the farmers, don't take the residue out of the farm, because it's needed there, because it will decompose while it's still there. The living organisms will act on it and it will do its job, but it also protects the soil from the harsh weather, because we're living in the tropics, and I guess that is also part of the reason why our soil organic carbon still remains low, because of the harsh weather that we are predisposed to. So the farmers need to ensure that they don't take away the residue from the farm, so that the soils remain moist.
Okay.
And then make sure that the material that they have in their farms is well composted. It would take about 4 to 6 months to get a good compost. Is the farmer patient enough to do that? The truth is, maybe not. And then because the planting time has come, so what does he do? And so that's why we're here. We are here to help the process.
All right. I believe you've spoken about most of the things, because I was about to ask about how do you maintain your farm after you've harvested, but you've already touched on that, I believe so.
Yes.
And I believe someone at home is really listening to this, because don't take out everything. Just make sure that at least you leave something behind too. All right. And still on that as well. When it comes to the crops that you're planting, This season, you've planted maize. Next season, you still want to plant maize. The other coming season, you still want to plant maize. What does this do to the soil quality? What does this do to the soil health?
It's like having a plate of ugali. You know, you're eating ugali every day. So you're eating ugali this year, you're eating ugali next year. Please tell me how you will look. You'll have deficiencies, isn't it? It's the same thing with the soils. The soil, the nutrients in the soil will not be balanced. So you need a balanced environment for your plants to grow.
Yes.
So if you keep feeding these organisms with the same thing day in, day out, that doesn't help diversify the nutrients that are in your soil. That is why the interchanging of crops is very important. Or increasing the crops, mixed farming, you know, the crops that you're growing in the farm. Plant different crops, because that helps to add, you know, the diversity in the soil as well, so that then the nutrients have a plate of balanced nutrients, and the soil is also balanced out, so you don't have too much of one and less of the other.
All right, thank you for that. And now, I believe you work with farmers on the ground, as we saw earlier. And when you interact with farmers and get to understand what is really ailing their maybe ability to make sure that at least their soils are healthy, what is the main thing that stands out? And how do you make sure that, you know, you speak to each and every farmer, even those in the rural areas, and understand, okay, this is how you need to do it?
Excuse me. The concern for the farmer is, if I add this product or if I put this product, how will it help me at the end of the day? And for a long time, what we've been telling the farmers is that you move from inorganic to organic, but we have increasingly seen the anxiety that the farmer has, and it's real, and we understand that. The beauty about it is that what we have also seen is that when we integrate these two types of nutrients, the organic and inorganic, you actually respond to the farmer's need for maintained productivity. Even if he's getting the 5 bags in an acre that he is getting today, we don't want a situation whereby he'll get 3 bags, right? So his concern is that, will I get the same bags at the bare minimum? And now here we are saying that, yes, you'll not only get the 5 bags, but you'll actually get more. But as you do that, you're also treating your soil.
Okay.
So today we are recommending to the farmers that add on the organic fertilizer, add on the organic soil conditioner. And our recommendation right now is to say, because the average recommendation that the farmers have is to use 2 bags of, whether it's DAP, NPK, or the planting fertilizers that they're using. So on average about 2 bags. So with these 2 bags, we are asking the farmer just to add 1 bag equivalent of 50 kg bag and mix, and then plant with it. When it comes to top dressing, the same, 2 bags, 1 bag. Just ensure you have 1 bag of organic fertilizer, soil conditioner. And I can tell you, the farmers who have tried that, they are running away with it. I mean, and the testimonials are there. And we would hope that we'd be able to spread the success stories far enough, and also appeal to the farmers to also tell their other farmers when they go for the cooperative meetings and when they meet the extension workers or officers in the field, to spread the good news, for lack of a better word, that combining these 2 products actually brings a higher return. And Kelvin, I can tell you, even if you're adding an extra expense, because now you're adding on, so you need to put more money on the table, you will still be left with money in your pocket as a farmer, and that is a guarantee.
Right. Now, as we get to the end of this particular conversation, let us look at scaling up and look at farmer training and awareness on integrated soil fertility. I believe you've touched on that as well. Farmer integration and making sure that at least farmers are getting this particular knowledge. So when you look ahead, the scaling up and how you are now going to be reaching out to farmers, what are we looking at?
Kelvin, we are seeking government support. And that is what OFIMAK has given us the opportunity to do. And I must say the conversations are going very well. Thanks to GIZ and other partners, but specifically GIZ, they helped in developing this policy. This is the Agricultural Soil Management Policy in 2023. It was actually launched during the Fertilizer Soil Health Summit. And this is a blueprint in terms of how we should treat our soils. Now, the Ministry of Agriculture launched this policy. And for us, it is the best place to be as a country because we have soil health, soil management anchored under a framework that can be executed both by the government and the private sector. Mm-hmm. Following to that, again, thank you to GIZ. We were able to, the Ministry of Agriculture was able to launch this national agroecology strategy for food system transformation. And this now strategy is what is helping us to execute the policy. Mm-hmm. And what that tells us is that the government is listening. They have been able now to put the foundation on the ground in terms of how we can now take this conversation to the farmer. And we only left with one thing, Kelvin. You see now, as much as we have these beautiful policies and strategy, we need now implementation. So today we have the government subsidy that is very leaned towards the inorganic fertilizers, and we are negotiating with the government to incorporate organic fertilizers into the government subsidy. Mm-hmm. So that way, and then add on the government voice to now carry this mandate forward. Because remember, I mentioned earlier, the government is the one that really pushed the agenda of increasing the use of fertilizer. And today we are requesting the same government to give us that push so that the farmers can embrace these two packages together.
All right, thank you so much, Juni. Our time is up. I believe you've learned something today when it comes to improving soil fertility and productivity and making sure that when you harvest, you don't take out everything from your farm. We've come to the end of this particular conversation. My name is Kelvin Nyakundi, and today we were speaking to Juni Wangari, who is the chairperson of the Organic Fertilizers Manufacturers Association of Kenya, OFIMAK. Don't go too far and stay right here with KTN.
Kuwa mshindi, kuwa na uhakika sasa.